Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Krupski, the voice of USA Hockey's National Team Development Program. You're watching CTV Sports. Coming up next on CTV, it's the Sports Guys with our good friends Steve, Chuck, and Rod. Don't miss it.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Guys here on CTV. I'm your host, Christian Gibbons, along with Steve Bainey, Chuck Hiller, and Rod Calgren.
Good morning.
And we have an interesting week in sports. We had horse racing. We had Pistons basketball in the playoffs. We had the Tigers on a real hot streak, including some names that I myself have been dogging since I've been on the show, who have really turned it around and made me eat crow a little bit. So we'll get into that. And we also have some golf and a lot of car racing to get to as well. So we're going to start with the Kentucky Derby that was held on Saturday afternoon.
In the mud?
In Louisville, Kentucky. In the mud. It was one muddy, muddy day. Sovereignty won over the favorite Journalism. Journalism and Sovereignty really took the lead there in the home stretch of the race. But like we said, it was a muddy, muddy day. And it seems like every other year we get rain or storms or something. We can't have 2 straight years of good weather at the Kentucky Derby, but I guess that's what happens when you hold the race in the first Saturday in May.
But they made it interesting, side by side, coming down the back stretch.
It was a really good race.
Does anybody follow all of those different horses during the year, except for on Kentucky Derby weekend?
Well, they follow them on Preakness.
I
in
never
Belmont.
even know who the
I don't.
favorites are.
But if you have money on all of these races, if you're
you'll
flipping
follow.
channels
If you're there,
during the day,
or wearing one of those big floppy hats.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah, I know. There's a couple of channels that if you pay good money for cable, there's a. I'll edit that out. In 3, 2, 1. There's a couple of channels that have horse racing all day long, so you can bet from New York, the New York racing circuit, Kentucky, California.
I've seen some of those.
Yeah, so I mean,
Saratoga.
yeah, Saratoga basically
Santa
owns
Anita
their own channel.
Some of those, yeah.
But yeah, they're like you said, they follow them during the Triple Crown races.
No doubt.
And an interesting fact: all of the horses in the Kentucky Derby field are all descendants of Secretariat.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's
Pretty good
So the-
genes.
yeah.
So the price of stud service is going up.
Yeah, and American Pharoah's still making pretty penny,
There you go.
getting down to business. So, but yeah, so our top 5 was Sovereignty, jockeyed by Junior Alvarado, and Bill Mott was the trainer. Journalism came in second, and Baeza came in third. Final Gambit and Owen Almighty. And Sovereignty won with a time of 2:02.31. And another face that we hadn't seen back at the Kentucky Derby in a while was Bob Baffert.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Was back after a 3-year ban after being suspended by the Kentucky Racing Commission.
It's interesting because apparently Sovereignty is not going to run in the Preakness.
Oh.
They announced that they were
Yeah.
hemming and hawing in the
And
winter
apparently
circle.
that has happened more than once because they've got the Preakness and the Belmont, and they're just 2 weeks apart.
Right.
And a number of these trainers believe that that's not enough rest for their really good horses
Okay.
without the chance of
Right.
physically hurting them.
Right.
Right. You're
And the Preakness is a shorter race. The Belmont is the one
Long
where
one.
you're gonna look for a horse like Baida, who was really coming on at the end because it's the longer
Right.
of
Right.
the three races.
Yeah.
My God.
And you know, sure you'll win a Triple Crown, but if the horse gets hurt in the Preakness, you're not winning a Triple Crown. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's all you're hedging your bets, and you got to do what's best for the animal. So
And there,
You-
well, I don't know
you
about
would
that.
think
You got to do
with-
what's best for the breeding rights.
well,
I
that's
think with
Sure.
all the money
if you want to be
involved,
cynical about it, yeah.
You know? Oh, all
why
right.
don't they spread it out? Have it a month between.
You would
each
think.
one.
I think a lot of it has to do with television,
Yeah, there you go.
and a lot of it has to do with the Breeders' Cup at the end of the year, the way the
Yeah.
races are stacked up throughout the season. But you're right. You know, like they do in golf, you've got the 4 majors spread out over a month.
Yeah.
So it gives these guys a chance to rest and recuperate, skip a
Sure.
tournament here or there. You know, you're
Yeah.
right. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but
do
so
it.
much of the
It's such the Triple Crown is such an important group of races that you would think you'd want to highlight them more, and you can do that if you spread it out
You would think.
and let the media work for
Yeah, now
a
you-
month on that next one.
But I
Yeah.
think, I think too, the technology and training levels and all that kind of stuff, the response for the animal and all that. Like I say, I mean, all of that has improved so much over the years that, I mean, that's why they, kind of spread the season out a little bit in basketball, baseball. So, like I
Sure.
say, that you're not playing every
Right,
day kind
yeah.
of thing.
Sure.
Yeah, like I say, it's just the way technology goes, I mean, it seemed to me 2 weeks would be plenty of time for a
Yeah.
horse to
Well,
rest.
you you start taking these records and you're comparing records today with records back in the 80s or
Oh, yeah, way
whatever,
back.
and everything's different.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So, like you say, the thing, I mean, if you're gonna, are you gonna take a chance on a $10 million horse that is gonna run 2 weeks,
Yeah.
or you want to wait for a month and he's much safer? So,
Yeah.
Well, you might make an extra million or two.
Right, but if the
You
horse
know-
is worth 10 and I have a chance to make 1 million, but he gets hurt, now I'm out 8
Yeah,
million. So
yeah.
it's
Exactly.
yeah, and there again, I mean, it's like a lot of these guys, it's like would you run your horse in the mud?
right.
And it's like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I'd prefer to hold my horse out of the mud and then run him on a dry track in Belmont.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the Tigers. Speaking,
Oh,
of,
yeah, there you
speaking
go.
of animals, this being a cat, the Tigers 4-1 this last week. They won 3-1 in their series with the Angels. They kicked the living crap out of them yesterday.
No doubt.
13-1 was the final score.
Yeah.
Trey Sweeney had 6 runs. Kerry Carpenter added 5 RBIs on the day yesterday. They have a 3-game series with the Rockies starting on May 6th. And this team, I've said, you've heard me say, I thought Javier Baez was so overrated. I thought the Illiches wasted all this money on this, this warmed over body who's just taking up cap space, even though there's no cap in baseball.
Bite your tongue.
Exactly. He went to A.J. Hinch and said, I will play wherever you need me to. He's been in center field. He robbed a home run.
Oh,
Yeah.
did he?
Over the
Wow.
weekend?
Oh, yeah.
He's, and like we were saying last week, I think the poor man was injured all last year because this is a whole new guy.
Seems like it.
And like Chuck was saying earlier this morning, he's
He
lost a
looks
little bit of
thinner.
weight. He's a little
He's
more
just-
athletic.
Right in here.
I think he's back into form, and knock on wood,
Yeah.
this team, Spencer Torkelson is hitting again. Riley Green is out there hitting again, the only player in Major League Baseball history ever to hit 2 home runs in the same 9th inning.
Right.
And Chuck said apparently they had a graphic on the broadcast showing Babe Ruth never did it.
Yeah.
All these
these
famous
Big hitter.
guys
Nobody
haven't
ever-
done that, but Riley Green, our own Riley Green, has done it.
Only
So,
one.
like we said,
Who's the guy on New York that's hitting so
Aaron
Aaron Judge.
Judge is hitting over 400.
Mhm.
Yeah, like I said, it's a
That's
wild and crazy
that's
season. and
amazing.
The Tigers are
Yeah.
leading the way.
With
Like-
today's pitching. And
Well, and New York uses those torpedo bats too, which we won't
Yeah.
even get into. We don't
There
have time
you
for
go.
that.
But like you say, that game the other night when Riley Green hit the 2 in the ninth, Skubal started out with a first pitch home run.
Yeah.
It's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then, like say, in the wins, like say, they're coming from different guys,
Right. And that's
all
what
up and down the order.
that's what they said with the whole Angel series is, yes, the Angels are playing like garbage right now,
Right,
but they can hit the long ball.
right.
So you have to minimize the long ball. So when I saw that home run off of Scoobs, I was
like,
like, oh, we're in for one of those games tonight.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
then they came back and
came
won it.
back.
So
Settled down and didn't let them score again.
yeah, so we're off to a great start after I'm eating a little crow. I didn't think we'd be here.
No,
But
nobody did.
thought we would make the playoffs last year either. So I'm glad we're trucking right along here in
That's
the
it.
Tigers.
Well, jump on the bandwagon now, because Detroit teams have a tendency to lose their wheels somewhere along the road.
And speaking of Detroit teams who didn't, because
Oh.
right now it seems like it's only the Red Wings who have lost their wheels at the end of the season.
Yeah.
The Pistons.
Oh.
It was a great series.
So close.
They were so,
So
close.
close.
And Brunson, Jalen Brunson, is now the arch enemy of every Detroit sports fan.
I mean,
Yeah.
out of the 6 games, I mean, it was 3 points one way
Right.
or the other.
well, I think every Detroit fan just cringes thinking about the leads that we've had with very few
Right.
seconds left to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And he
And-
got away from
And
it.
that's, they're a young team.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll learn from this. And, they lost on Game 4, they lost 94 to 93.
Right.
Game 5, 106 to 103.
Right.
They won that one. And then 116 to 113. Despite they had a 105 lead with 2:35 remaining in the game.
Yeah, a couple of
And-
those games late.
And the Knicks closed in with 11-1 run. So, that's
That-
a young
yeah.
team. The Knicks are very streaky. So
But
mean-
it was exciting ball to watch.
It
You know,
really
but I mean,
was.
they were already overachieving. I mean, nobody really expected them the way they started the season to even get in the playoffs.
right, they tripled their win total from last year.
Yeah.
So
And then they not only got into playoffs, but they didn't have to go through the play-in round.
right.
So, like I say, they come in, I think it was 6th and wind up playing the Knicks. Nice thing, they don't have to face the Celtics.
Yeah, because the Knicks are. I don't know, but the Knicks are going to hit a brick wall here very soon.
The Celtics are looking pretty good coming down the road for sure.
And here are some of the highlights from the Pistons season, real quick. First playoff appearance since 2019. Snapped an NBA record 15-game postseason losing streak when they won in Game 2.
Right.
Achieved a 44-38 regular season record, tripling last season's winning total. And then as we look ahead, they've got a new coach, JB Bickerstaff, who seems like he's got the read of the room, and Trajan Langdon is doing a heck of a job putting this team together. So if we can add a
Nice.
piece or two
Yeah.
going into next year, I think we'll really
Could
make
move up a
something
little
of this.
bit,
Yeah, no doubt. Like
Right,
say
so-
that, they got good building material for sure. Like say, get Ivy back full time.
Yeah, that's another thing we really miss Jalen Ivey.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you got for us today?
Not a whole lot much more than that. In basketball news, Greg Popovich over in the Spurs, 76 years old, had a stroke.
Oh no.
Yeah, so he was retiring from coaching and moving to team president.
Okay.
And he had 29 seasons, 5 championships, most regular season wins by a coach.
Wow.
He's followed by his assistant, Mitch Johnson, takes over. He's been with the Spurs for 6 years, so like I say, it's kind of a long stretch there for sure. And the UFL and Michigan Panthers took out the DC Defenders, and 38-14, and they're 4-2 now. And in the UFL, there's 4 teams. They're all 4-2. So they're all kind of tied up there, who beat who, and got got the percentages ahead and all that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting this year. Like I say, the bottom dwellers are kind of pretty much out of it, but like I say, the top 4 teams are kind of banging it out
We
pretty
know
good.
how
So-
those bottom dwellers feel.
Yes, they are.
And like I say, they're getting a lot of news publicity on TV and stuff.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
they're getting
yeah.
several of the games on
I will shout
Friday,
out.
Saturday, Sunday.
Been
I will
there,
shout out
done
my
that.
buddy Jeremiah Hergott in the marketing department at the Michigan Panthers for that, because he's a good friend of mine, and they're doing a hell of a job there at the Michigan Panthers front office.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, the
Where's
fact that
their
they can
office
play at
at?
Ford Field
Right
is
downtown somewhere?
I have no idea.
I was just wondering because I don't know where.
In jail, see, down there.
I
What's
don't
that?
know. I have no.
And
I have no-
Joe Louis, what,
Little Caesar?
Little Caesars,
No,
Marina,
they have an office complex somewhere. I'm not sure where it is.
Yeah.
Just wondering. There's sure a lot of offices open that would love to have them. I'll
yeah.
tell you that much.
Right, but
anyway,
that about
they're
does it for me.
entertaining, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're entertaining, and folks, ladies especially, you'd love this to see a guy run into 3 guys, go to tackle him, and all 3 are flying by the side, and he's still going. It is quite entertaining. A lot of the guys are a lot thinner than we see in the big league, and they fly. It's more like in comics where you see guys flying all over the place and one guy's going. And that was yesterday. It was something.
All right, Chuck. So let's go through our motorsports news. Let's start
Okay,
with
so
NASCAR.
let's talk with the big boys. Remember, I've spoken about all these years of F1, almighty, and everything. Boy, has that started to go down the hill. They had their F1 race here at Miami, and now the screaming starts because they ran a excise tax for the city of Miami, so to get more money to fix up the place to make it look good for the race. These people who got stung for the excise tax, they did it in such a way that they're not going to get their money back on people coming to shop because they can't get into that area. They couldn't even drive their cars in there for 5 days. There's no way of getting around. They brought in all this expensive stuff because F1 people do buy well.
Sure.
They couldn't get into their places. Completely blocked off for pedestrian traffic. Excessive noise. These big buildings all down that they were doing,
Sure.
they got excessive noise because there's no mufflers on these cars, folks. And they start out at 6:37 when it starts to get light. They're allowed to warm up.
Right.
They're not allowed to go on the track all the
Well,
time.
they wake up the city.
Yeah, well,
No
the
doubt.
city
Yeah,
was not
right.
too happy about that because
Yeah.
they couldn't get out of that area there. No car traffic in there. And then the big one that they finally hit on yesterday, the pollution, because they don't have the same restrictions on, carbons and so on, and
Sure.
the pollution all over the place. And so even though they had a wonderful race, I wonder if they'll be back again. One.
They
Of
put
course, they're
catalytic
scheduled
converters
2
on.
or 3 years ahead, so they don't worry. But let's go to the second one, Texas Motor Speedway. That was yesterday. Texas Motor Speedway is a crazy narrower track, only 20-degree tilt,
Wow.
and 23. That's not too much there,
Yeah.
but narrower. But the crazy thing is that in Texas, all of us probably have been at Outer Drive at Michigan Avenue. You come down Outer Drive and there's that little hill like that there. That is on Curve 2 of Texas Motor Speedway. Now they are so well sprung, or not sprung, they're tight.
Yeah.
And if you do it so that you glide over that's one thing. But as soon as you get over that, you got a tip there. And cars were running all over the place.
Uh-oh.
They can't stay in line like that. Remember, they're running hydraulics. They're
Right.
not running on normal springs like we do.
Right,
And hydraulic. And if you put it for going up nicely on 3/4 of it, you got 1/4 that's going to get you. And that's what was happening. Cars by themselves, all of a sudden, they're doing this.
Oh, boy.
They can't control them. But anyway, it was a good race, but it was long. Man, oh man, my old eyeballs were just about falling out there. They get maybe 1 or 2 times around, and a couple of cars decide to go bangity boom,
Mix
and
it up.
then they not only go bangity boom, but they do all their booming all over the track.
Oh,
that means that they got to slow down, and they got to go and suck it all up and clean it up, and then they race again,
There you go.
then they
Clean
do
it up
again.
again.
The only thing is that was interesting is they had the big HR Corvette, the new Corvette out there as the pace car. That was
That
exciting.
thing looks sweet.
Didn't that look nice?
Yeah, that looked nice.
My son
time.
said, "Why can't they put the Corvettes in the race there?" I said, "I don't think that structurally that they
Yeah.
would be able to take it." But did that look nice? I was wondering if they had a gas station in the back to fill that sucker up though, because he was out there so much. He did 300 miles of the 400.
Wow.
You know. Anyway, that's that race there. It was very entertaining, but long, friends, long. And and of all people, our little buddy Logano does win. He started at 22nd position, and he won. Not because maybe he was the fastest, but he was the luckiest in all of the little accidents around. He would move up a little bit every time.
Oh, there you go.
And, you know, it's that old thing of the turtle winning over the rabbit
The
and all
hare,
that
yeah.
that we heard in the 3rd grade. Maybe you got it in 2nd. I was a
Yeah,
slow
well,
learner,
hey, who
so I
knows,
got
huh?
it a year later.
Somewhere along the line.
Yeah, anyway, Logano wins it. But he didn't have his normal yellow. It was in white this time. And who owns that car? AAA.
Oh,
Now, I come from a family where my father-in-law was one of the executives at AAA, and I can remember the screaming that AAA got into when they found out that they could go into racing. Because all these years we're trying to sell insurance, safe driving, and so on. There were so many arguments over that, and now AAA wins.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm in.
So real quick, NTT IndyCar Series was at Barber Motor Speedway. Alex Palau, basically start to finish, won that race. We moved to Indianapolis starting next week. It's a whole month. They basically camp out at Indianapolis for the Indy 500 coming up on Memorial Day weekend. We've got the road course race next Saturday. Trials will be the following week. And then we go for the Indianapolis 500, which, if y'all know, you get the garland and you get to drink milk. What a way
And
to
kiss the track.
You get to kiss the track. You get to drink milk in 95-degree heat. It's just gross.
At Indianapolis, in the center and just outside is a golf course.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
oh,
And I have played that golf course many times because that used to be part of my territory. And I'll tell you, when you get on, I think it's about the 15th or 16th hole, it's a long par 4, and it parallels the back stretch
Oh, that's cool.
at Indy, and if you're there sometime
When they're
when
trying.
they're practicing and you're getting ready to hit a golf ball and you hear one of these cars and they're not that far from you.
That's
They're
crazy.
maybe 50 yards.
You don't have a
They go
chance.
by. I mean, it feels like they're going to go right up your back. I mean, it's unbelievable, the noise.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, Rod, so let's talk about the PGA Tour this week.
Ooh, there you go.
Well, we're at the C.J. Byron Nelson, which is really, it's a fairly big tournament in between the Masters and the PGA. And it's played right near Dallas, Fort Worth. And this was, it's not an easy course, but the way these guys played it,
Oh,
you'd think it was,
Yeah.
because
21.
Scotty Scheffler just became unbelievable and ended up, I think it was 32 under par,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
which tied a 72-hole record.
Wow.
On the last hole, he needed to think about I think it was about a 15-footer or something to set a new record
Oh, okay.
for a low 72 score. It just went over the edge and he missed it, but he tied.
Wow.
But it wasn't very close. He won by 8 strokes, which was also close to a record for the amount. And he beat Eric Van Rooyen, who's a South African, who was playing pretty good. With his score, he would have won probably 75% of the other
Yeah, right.
But it was interesting because Byron Nelson got a lot of publicity. He's the guy that won 11 straight tournaments
Wow.
in 1945. Now, you gotta remember it was 1945.
Right after that war.
A lot of the really hot golfers were in the service,
Right. Yeah.
but 11 straight, I don't care if you're a rookie or not, is a lot.
11 straight
And
is
that
pretty good.
year, 1945, he won 18.
Wow.
So Tiger is the only one that really.
Compared.
And he also made the cut in 142 straight tournaments.
Wow.
And that is only beaten by Tiger, who made the cut in 240.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, showing you how good Tiger was.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
the thing is, when Nelson played it, the cut was making a paycheck. And the only people making a paycheck back in the 40s or the
Early 50s, too.
20th century were the top 20.
Oh, okay.
So that meant that Byron Nelson was in the top 20 for 142.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
makes that record a little
Definitely more
better.
impressive, yeah.
But this week they're playing the Truex tournament. It used to be played down in Charlotte, but when they changed all the majors, they put the PGA in this following week, and it's being played in Charlotte at Quail Hollow.
Oh, that's a nice course.
That's a good course, yeah. So that'll be pretty exciting. One more thing I'd like to mention. I was scrolling through the TV channels and I came upon the professional bowling tournament.
Oh, okay.
And that is being held right now in, where do you think?
Damn.
Allen Park
Yep.
at
Nice.
the
Thunderbolt.
Thunder Bowl.
Thunder Bowl. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's interesting watching these guys. They're all really good, and I'm not sure of all the details on qualifying, but I do know there was one guy, and they play 2 or 3 games
That's right.
against individuals in their setup. And he had 11 straight strikes
Wow.
in two games.
Wow.
I mean, he finished one game with like 5 or 6 straight strikes, started the next one with 5 or 6 straight.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, when you get guys doing that, and they're starting out that way,
Yeah.
so they're in about the 6th frame, and they've got 6 strikes,
Yeah.
you really get glued to watching, because sometimes they get what looks like a good hit, and there's the 9-pin
Right. Something.
setting
Yeah.
up as a 4-pin.
Yeah.
All right. All right, we got to wrap it up. We are running really tight on time, so we will take this next week and we will take it all in, bring it back to you guys, and tell you all about all the sports next week. I'm your host, Christian Gibbons, and we will see you next week here on The Sports Guys.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye now.
Take care.
Hi, everybody. I'm Pete Krupski, the voice of USA Hockey's National Team Development Program. You're watching CTV Sports.